Hi guys, so today is the last part of that fructose malabsorption series, and it's the video I'm most excited about, and I've been waiting for it. I've been waiting for the time to make it from the first one because this is so important to me. I've been wanting to share this with you for so long, for a couple of months, but I had to prepare you with the previous 4 videos to give you all of the data and all the information, because I understand this topic is quite controversial. A lot of people believe that they are indeed gluten intolerant, even though none of the blood work shows it, and it's quite a sensitive topic at the moment, but I think it's important to talk about it, so let's dive into the video. If somebody has celiac disease, then of course they shouldn't eat gluten. Nobody's even discussing about it. That's pretty obvious. However, so many people nowadays are diagnosed with something called non-celiac gluten sensitivity or gluten intolerance, which basically doesn't have a defined it's not a defined term, doesn't have an actual clear definition, doesn't have any kind of blood test to prove it. It's all based just on symptoms, and it's something called clinical diagnosis, which basically means that it's just diagnosed based on the symptoms. But the question is gluten really the culprit, or is there something else that isn't wheat and other gluten containing grains that actually causes this trouble? This question has been bothering me since the first day I started looking into gluten intolerance. And I've been off gluten for 6 months, but I kept thinking about it because I didn't really see much progress, and I just kept digging in, looking for more information. A study came out in 2013 that looked at the link between non-celiac gluten sensitive individuals and FODMAP. If you don't know what FODMAP is, it's a group of certain carbs like fructose, lactose, fructans, sorbitol and things like that cause digestive problems to some people. If you want to know more about it, just watch my previous video. I've made a whole video just about low FODMAP diet. But basically they wanted to see whether it was gluten that was making those people sensitive or whether it was FODMAPs. So what they did is they took 37 people with diagnosed IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. Basically when somebody has bowel symptoms but nobody knows why, and they were all diagnosed with non-celiac gluten sensitivity, so they for sure didn't have celiac disease. So they were already following a gluten-free diet, and the scientists took them off any kind of FODMAP containing foods for a while, and all of them had significant improvement. So then what they did was reintroduce gluten into the diet, but only gluten not containing FODMAPs, and only 7% of them experienced any kind of worsening of the symptoms, which means that out of those 37 people, only 7% really had gluten intolerance. All the others actually reacted to FODMAP in foods. So when I read about this study, it really made me think a lot, because I've always suspected that gluten was just a very handy culprit for the industry to make lots of money, because gluten-free foods are making so much money for the industry. As they're becoming so fashionable and every single supermarket has shelf stock full of them. I've always been interested whether it's really real, if it's gluten or if it's something else, and this article was really that opened my mind. The next thing I started looking into was gliadin antibodies. So if you've been following my thyroid healing journey and my health journey in general for the last couple of years, you would know that I found that I had gliadin antibodies, which are sort of antibodies that the body makes against gluten, or gliadin, which is sort of protein in wheat and gluten containing grains. And I stayed off gluten for 6 months, and in June I went to Lithuania and I was going to do all of my blood tests and to see what my gluten antibodies were doing. And I said to myself, if gluten was really the culprit, then my antibodies would have reduced a lot, or they would be totally normal by that time. By the time I have already read these studies linking FODMAP foods to gluten intolerance, and so I thought that if my antibodies were the same or even higher, then that would be the proof to me that it wasn't gluten, that it was fructose malabsorption, because antibodies to gluten in the blood actually don't mean that you are necessarily sensitive to gluten. It just means that intestines are irritated by something that you're eating or doing, or you're lacking, or whatever it is. That's all it means. And it can also be caused by fructose malabsorption, like fructans. And then I actually pulled up a list of all the different illnesses that could cause, not necessarily cause, nobody knows what causes it, but other conditions that have gliadin antibodies associated with them. And there were things like bipolar disorder, Crohn's disease, diabetes, Down syndrome, depression, IBS, liver disease, psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, schizophrenia, thyroid disease, and also ulcerative colitis. So obviously nobody knows whether gluten antibodies are causing all of these illnesses or vice versa, they're both caused by something else, like maybe some kind of a nutrient deficiency. Nobody really knows. But the truth is that gliadin antibodies alone don't necessarily mean that gluten is a culprit. It just means, to me, it's just a symptom of something much bigger. It might be that it's something like B12 and folate deficiency related to a certain gene mutation. It's another theory that I'm investigating now, but that's a topic for another video. Nobody really knows. But the fact is that just the gliadin antibodies don't mean anything by themselves. And that's why when I went to Lithuania, I made up my mind that if my antibodies were low, then that would be my proof that gluten is my problem and I would continue being gluten-free. But if my antibodies were the same or higher, then I would try to eat bread again and see for myself how I feel. Because after 6 months of being gluten-free, if gluten was really my problem, I should have felt really bad. So Lithuania was the best place to do it because bread in Lithuania is incredible. It's not all sourdough, but there's lots of sourdough bread, like the traditional black Lithuanian bread is all sourdough and it's so good. So I thought, you know what, I haven't been there for 3 years. I haven't tasted that bread for 3 years. I might as well do it there and taste that bread that I haven't tasted for so many years. And I did. I went out with my friend to a restaurant for a lunch and I ordered some spinach soup and they brought some beautiful sourdough bread with it. And I thought, you know what? Sod it, I'm going to try it and see what happens. Right then, right there. And I did. And nothing happened. I felt great, actually better than ever. And the next day I got some sourdough bread and I kept eating little by little and nothing happened. I actually felt really good. Then I came back home and I started my sourdough starter and I started making my sourdough bread and I felt great. And up to this day I've been eating it now for almost 2 months and I'm doing great. And I'm so happy because I'm back to eating every single food group. There's nothing that I can't eat. There are certain things like foods really high in sorbitol or fructose that I have to limit, but there's nothing I have to eliminate. There's everything I can eat. And to be honest, for me, that's always been my ultimate goal, because for me, complete healing is not when you have to eliminate certain groups, when you can't eat something, because if you can't eat certain foods, you can't really travel freely, you can't really enjoy your special occasions with your family. That's not complete healing. That's just process of healing, but it's not complete. And I said to myself that I'm not going to stop until I get to the point where I can eat everything, as long as it's real food and not processed shit, you know, until I can eat everything and not have any kind of problems or symptoms from it. And I'm very close to that point, so I'm so grateful. So talking about FODMAP and gluten intolerance, you might be wondering, you know, what to do if you think you're gluten intolerant, but maybe it's actually FODMAP, so what actually can you eat? So if that's really the case and you want to experiment for yourself, what you can do is get some 100% sourdough bread, or even better, make it yourself to make sure that it's properly fermented, and try it. According to the Low FODMAP Food Diet app, which is an amazing resource for anybody with fructose or FODMAP issues, you can safely eat up to 2 slices of spelt or wheat sourdough, and you can even eat a slice of non-sourdough white wheat bread, and it's not going to cause you troubles. You have to be careful with whole grain wheat bread though, because that one is going to irritate your intestines even in small amounts. So that's amazing, because now when I go to restaurants I can actually, you know, nibble on some bread that they bring, and I don't have to worry about any kind of traces of gluten like I used to in the past, and it's just so liberating. It's just amazing. So definitely worth experimenting for yourself and see if it's really gluten that's causing you troubles. There have even been studies where even people with actual celiac disease were able to tolerate properly fermented sourdough bread. So definitely experiment by yourself. Don't get scared and brainwashed, you know, by the industry and by the doctors that you're totally powerless in this process. You can heal yourself. keep researching, believe in your body, listen to the science is trying to send you, and keep experimenting. Experimenting is the best way to find solutions. Restrictions only lead to more restrictions down the road. Elimination diets are great as a temporary reset for the system, but they're not good long term because they're just going to bring you to more and more sensitivities. So I really hope that you got some new information from this video and that it made you think, because these studies have definitely made me think a lot. And I really hope that you won't unsubscribe from me because you're disappointed in me because I'm eating gluten again. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I know my body. I'm feeling better than ever, so don't worry. I'm going to be okay. So I hope that you like this video and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.